People who were on reality family shows as kids. Think Super Nanny, Wife Swap etc. How much of it was real and how much was fiction set up for drama? Did anything change? I was on a dog training TV show when I was 8ish. The idea was that the dog trainer came in and helped our family integrate our new puppy into our household, to give us training tips and advice, etc. The whole thing was basically bogus. The trainer came to our house for maybe 30 minutes tops and gave us extremely basic advice. The producers also told us we had to get changed and pretend that he was visiting us 3 months later after he gave us the advice and how it had made our life better, yada yada yada. It's so dumb because our puppy was clearly the same age in the before and 3 months after shots, and my family and actors, so our reactions were really fake. One of the producers also made me say, "I love you," dog's name while hugging him for about 6 takes. I knew a girl who was on the tiny homes show with her mom. She said they had already bought the tiny home, and the show set things up like they were looking at a bunch of others and picked that one. I had some friends on my super sweet 16. It's been so long, I remember there was a lot of misleading things done to invent drama. One thing that does stick out to me is the sports car she was gifted was actually leased and she only drove it a few times, including the time in the episode. Her parents used the car until the lease expired. To be honest, the parents were typically well reserved with their money and wanted their kid to work hard and her own stuff. The scenes of anger or outrage were out of character for the girl's normal behavior. My friend's parents were on world's strictest parents. They came to my house on 4th of July, and when they showed our house on TV it was a huge mansion rather than our actual house. The camera crew also told the visiting bad kids to steal alcohol from our house. I can't even remember what the show was called because I was pretty young. Based on my googling, I think it was 3 Wishes on NBC. I had a neighbor around my age who was pretty sick and my mom used to give them rides and make the family food and stuff. They brought my mom and I in to interview us, and I remember it just being really awkward and strange. They told me a bunch of stuff to say that I didn't like and my mom objected to. Looking back on it now, I realize they were trying to get material for a sick kid with only one friend storyline, but I just wasn't a good enough actor to make it work. They ended up using nothing from us at all. They trucked snow into their front yard and I got to play in that though, so that was kinda cool as a kid from LA. But then they just left, and between the snow and the equipment they'd used to film, their yard was totally destroyed. They moved away pretty soon after that, so I'm not even sure what happened with them. My cousin had her wedding on my 600 pounds life. When the producers found out her godfather was autistic, they basically forced him into the wedding party. They made a bunch of drama with her mom, and in the episodes they were in before they made a fake engagement just for the show. One of my wife's friends was on blind date while she was in college. The dude they set her up with was a lot older than her. It seemed like they were trying to make him seem like a creepy old guy, and the show had set her up for a bad date. He also felt like the show had tried to set him up to look bad. They pretended they were having a really great date and even kissed at the end of it. She said they could tell the producers were annoyed with them, and that made pretending they were having an awesome date way more fun. My dad was asked to be on an episode of TLC's My Strange Addiction. He runs kind of a niche, small business. And they were like, "Hey, you're addicted to this, right?" And he was like, no. And they were like, "Well, can you pretend to be addicted to this and you can be on the show?" And he was like, no. Edit. It was a honeybee business. They were hoping he was addicted to bee stings. A classmate of mine was on My Country's Next Top Model. Before getting into the show, she was asked what kind of hair she would never want to get, so that the producers know about it and not make her have it during the makeover episode. My classmate had long blonde hair which she really loved, so she said she doesn't want them to cut her hair off, and that she also hated strange unnatural colors like blue, pink, etc. Fast forward to the makeover episode. The hairstyling team comes in and finds her hair unfitting for a model, so she needs to get a makeover, and guess what? Her makeover obviously consists of a pixie cut and green hair to make her look like a punk fairy. My classmate cried throughout the entire process, so I guess the producers got the drama they wanted out of this. There was a family in our neighborhood who was on a show here in Germany. One day, when accompanied by the camera crew, one of the daughters suddenly threw a screaming fit in public, which was totally unusual for her. When the mom was asked later what the fuck had happened, she said, "For a tantrum you get $200 extra." One of my neighbors was on a house disaster reno show and it was a mixed bag. I think the crew hired by the show actually did very competent structural reno and repair type work, but the designer had super niche tastes, so the family ended up repainting everything and pitching all the decoration-y aspects to get the house ready for resale after having to act super happy for the cameras. My parents were dinner guests in an episode of Nanny 911 and they said literally everything was staged. I don't remember all of the details, but they said the directors had a code word that they would say to the kids when they were supposed to start acting all crazy, and then once the scene was done, the kids would be perfectly normal. I work for CPS, but not in the US, and can tell you that most kids in those shows, the teen mom counterpart in my country, grow up traumatized by it. Also, 100% of the teen moms are CPS clients. Actually, by law in my country, as a minor you cannot have custody for a minor. And, believe me, they show a cleaned up version of reality in many cases. The teen moms' flats are never a mess or filthy because the production has that cleaned up. They don't show the violence and the drug abuse. A great bunch of those TV babies are taken into state care after a while. Not me, but I bumped into someone that was on the Property Brothers show. According to them, the two brothers were only ever on site for the filming. They threw out, hauled away all the person's furniture, and what it was replaced with was very pretty looking but hard and uncomfortable. Bad quality. Light had to be replaced within a year. Bad quality. Impractical for the family. And the family could not get anything from before the makeover back that they wanted. An acquaintance of mine was filming for Don't Tell the Bride. The show pulled out when they refused to cooperate. The husband-to-be had all these ideas his wife would love, but the production crew said it had to be a 50 Shades of Grey theme wedding. It was popular at the time and she worked in the sexual well-being industry. He said no, so they found another couple to cooperate with their insane ideas. MTV Made went to my high school the year after I graduated and made 2 episodes. One was about a girl I hadn't met and the other was about an awkward guy I knew really well because he was really good friends with my sister. His whole storyline was about how he'd never even been on a date before when he'd actually dated my sister for 2 years before filming, and she was pretty crushed by it. All the end goals that they made seem like a huge momentous deal were actually super casual school events that anyone could sign up for, and all the special industry guests the celebrity mentor brought in were just townies that happened to own some small business in the area that was semi-related to the goal. I knew a girl who was on that. She had put a lot of effort into organizing a good disco party for everyone at the evening reception, and danced away with everyone else for about 5 hours. Then finally came out into the hallway when it was winding down and lay down to rest for about 15 minutes on the chairs. They cut it to show her walking out to the chairs first, then showed other people dancing. Cut with footage of her laying on the chairs in the hall at the end of the night, to make it look like she abandoned the full reception and spent the whole evening moaning in the hallway. I finally have a response. My boyfriend and I filmed the pilot for a show. It's in production currently and is supposed to be picked up by Hearst TV. The show features us and another couple going on cheap dates with a fixed budget. The couple with the best cheap date wins an expensive date package. There were a lot of weird moments. When engaging with the host, she kept messing up her lines and would sometimes say something several times before getting it right, and we had to react like she didn't spend 3 minutes stuttering. None of the conversations with her were natural, because she would pause to reword her lines a lot while we sat there with a frozen smile on. We were prompted what to say frequently, and did a lot of retakes. It took all day to film 2 hours. Everything had to be set up. Everything. We were mic'd at each location change. Business owners had to agree to us popping up. Sometimes we'd say something and the director would ask us to repeat it. The cameras are hard to ignore, especially when at any second the director would say talk about but in full statements. It was fun though. I really liked talking to the sound guy about his experiences. He was telling some industry horror stories. Also, me and my boyfriend lost, so we went to a bar and laughed about it. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, like this video and subscribe for more Reddit videos. Make sure to click the bell notification so that you're alerted for future videos.